Japan is very rich in terms of its highly developed economy. The country is positioned as third in terms of nominal GDP and fourth in purchasing power parity, PPP. Japan has also occupied the third place in automobile and electronic manufacturing industries and is also listed under the major innovative countries of the world. In the recent era, the main challenges and competition for Japan are China and South Korea. Due to this competition, Japan is mainly concentrating on the manufacture of hybrid vehicles, robots, and optical instruments. Although Japan's economy is continuously rising, its population is diminishing to a great extent. According to a 2005 survey, the Japan population was initially decreased to 127 million, and it is estimated that this declining and aging issues in Japan would continue till the mid of 21st century. During 1960, Japan reduced its expenditure on defense and focused on the industrial development. This was the period between World War II and the Cold War. Japan accomplished its goal within the 3 decades by achieving the second world's largest economy position after the United States of America. However, this development could not stand long, as during 1990s, Japan's growth was much slower than the other developed countries. This fall sustained for 20 years, due to which Japan was named as Lost Decade. Japan has insufficient and scarce resources to meet the demands of its growing population. This is the major reason why the country preferred exports to a great extent. Japan is the third largest importing country of agricultural products after the United States and Europe, and the first largest importing countries of fish. Although gold, magnesium and silver are extracted from the country and accomplish the industrial needs, Japan still requires the support of other countries to import iron ore, copper, bauxite, alumina, and other forest products. The forest of Japan contributes to 70% of the total till the forest was not operated and used properly. Japan then discontinued the forest exploitation, and only the timber of Japanese forests was utilized for its industrial and manufacturing work. Since Japan was the importer of raw materials, it decided to construct diverse manufacturing industries to process those raw materials and convert them into valuable products. This modification also advanced the technologies, transportation, energy, and communication that were used for the industrial process. Economic history of Japan. The economic history of Japan is very popular because of the 3 major decades and improvements. The first period is known as Edo period, 1603. The second period is Meiji Restoration, 1868, and last is the defeat of World War II, the period of major growth. Edo period. The period commenced in the 16th century when Japan was the leading country in terms of metals like gold, silver, platinum, etc. However, the exports of these metals to other countries was restricted, due to which Japan could no more export the precious metals. In the starting of the Edo period, Japan successfully constructed its first warship, known as San Juan Bautista, that supported the shipping of Japanese embassy to America and Europe. Japan desired to eliminate the power of Christianization in the country, which resulted in the seclusion period of Japan. During this period, Japan's economy established. The urbanization in Japan developed following enhanced transport of several commodities, the growth of domestic products, and handicraft industries. Apart from this, it also developed the banking, agricultural, and industrial facilities. During the 18th century, Edo was populated by 1 million and even more people, whereas the population of Kyoto and Osaka was estimated to be 400,000. When Edo was busy supplying the consumer products and food, Kyoto and Osaka expanded their handicraft and trading business. In the same era, daimyo used to fetch the taxes of agricultural production from the small harvesters. However, these taxes were not the money, but rice. Generally, a total of 40% of rice was set as the tax. Japan in the 16th century also expanded in terms of education and literacy, as it started studying the Dutch books that were supplied from Dutch to Dejima. People used to study a variety of topics, including geography, natural science, medicine, astronomy, art, languages, physical science, mechanical science, and much more. Pre-war period, 1868 to 1945. The pre-war period started after the Meiji Restoration and remained until 1945. In this period, Japan experienced two major transformations and amendments. The first changes took place in 1868 and continued and persisted till the Second World War. The second alteration began in 1945 and long lasted till the 1980s. During this period, the Meiji government adopted the Western-based education system and transferred a large number of young children to the United States and Europe for studies. The government also hired about 3,000 foreign-trained and skilled teachers for the subjects including mathematics, technology, and languages. Apart from education transformation, the Meiji government took various measures in improving the railroads and participated in diverse land reform programs to develop Japan. In the beginning of this era, the government decided to upgrade the industrialization in Japan. Private business played a vital role in industrial transformation, and at the same time, the public sector had a major contribution to enhance the private sector growth. The major responsibility of government was to maintain the better economic condition and availability of each and every essential resource to the private companies. In 1930s, the Japan's wage rate was calculated as 10% less than that of the United States. Post-war period, 1945 to present. During the post-war period, the economic growth of Japan raised tremendously, with a 10% increase in 1960s and 5% increases in 1970s, following 4% in 1980s. The upset period was declined, and an innovative Japan came into existence. However, this growth ended in a short period of time, and by 1990s Japan faced various challenges. In order to cover the losses, Japanese government formed the structural reform policies, but this further created hurdles in the economic growth of the country. Several policies and techniques were adopted by the country, one of which was quantitative easing to raise inflation. However, this technique also flopped, as it was not enough to get rid of price deflation. After a few years, Japan showed a great recovery from the crisis and its GDP rose up to 2.8%, but the deflation still sustained for a long period until Japanese banks declared a doubled supply of money for more than 2 years. Infrastructure of Japan. During 2005, the energy of Japan was generated using the petroleum, 5% of coal, and 14% of natural gas. Electricity production was formed by the nuclear power, but because of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, the nuclear plants of Japan were ended. Japan has well-developed and topmost paved roads and railways. The road in Japan is considered to be the major transportation method adopted by the citizens. Another infrastructure improvement came into existence when Japanese government decreased the price of fresh and used cars, making it affordable for the people to purchase them easily. The Japanese government also persuaded the people to purchase the hybrid vehicles. Japan has also the punctual train services that connect diverse cities including Fukuoka, Kobe, Kyoto, Nagoya, Osaka, Sapporo, Sendai, Tokyo, and much more. There are a total of 175 airports in Japan, and airways are considered as the effective way of traveling. The largest and busiest airport in Japan is Tokyo International Airport. Japan is one of the largest importers of coal, natural gas, and net oil. Japan has reduced the import of petroleum and enhanced the import of natural gas and nuclear power. Labor force. In June 2009, the unemployment rate in Japan was 5.2%, but due to the expansion and fast recovery from the crisis, the government managed to bring down the rate to 3.7% in December 2013. According to the 2008 reports, Japan had 66 million of workers, among which the women contributed to 40%. However, the labor force kept on declining due to the inadequate population of the country. In 2005, Japan's death rates of the people were more than that of the birth rate, which again created a huge hindrance to its economic development. Law and government. In comparison to the other developed countries, Japan is a leading country in terms of smaller tax rates. Although a large number of Japanese workers are free from paying income taxes, the corporate tax charged by the country is very high, i.e. 36.8%. The consumption tax in Japan is just 8%, but the government is planning to increase the same to 10% and reduce the corporate tax rates. Other economic indicators. Some major economic indicators of Japan are as follows. Industrial production growth rate 7.5%. Investment 20.3% of GDP. Agricultural products, rice, vegetables, sugar, beets, fruit, pork, eggs, fish, dairy products, poultry, etc. Exports commodities, machinery and equipment, semiconductors, motor vehicles, chemicals and much more. Imports commodities, fuels, foodstuffs, machinery and equipment, chemicals, textiles, raw materials, foodstuffs, etc. Electricity consumption 925.5 billion kHz. Electricity production 957.9 billion kHz.